But you're doing a good job, at least labeling, categorizing. Hopefully you're also taking notes. Remember that? I have a lot of good stories about archaeology, but there's one in particular that kind of reminds me of squares over here. We were digging on an island in the middle of a river in North Carolina one time. It was a Indian site, and we were down about 3 feet in the square, digging through sand and clay that you would expect in the island. And we had found some artifacts like projectile points and things, but we got down about 3 feet. You know what we found? Found a pretty new Coke can. That tells me that the area was disturbed. Okay, it had been disturbed, and we were digging in that square. It was kind of just a waste of our time because it had all been disturbed, sort of thing. It's also the site where I had one of my scary moments of my life. I was carrying one of the screens like you have here, and I was in the back, and we had to walk across a train trestle bridge. There was no walkway on the side. I had to walk on the ties. And me carrying the back of the screen, I wasn't able to see where the ties were in front of me. How far apart they were, because if you fall between them, you're going to fall 70 feet down to the river. So I was looking up to my side. Where's my next step coming? I was kind of like half scared, you know, like, gee, if I miss one of these, I'm going for a swim. But yeah, that was kind of cool. And one of my favorite stories about archaeology is that we were digging in it was a known Paleo-Indian site back to 10 to 12,000 years ago. And we had made a theory that this one little depression in the middle of the woods was a very small pond 10,000 years ago, and these people camped around the pond, and we had that theory. And to prove it, we actually did a trench very similar to what you guys are doing here, where we started in the middle of the pond and we went up onto the shore, of what we thought would have been the shore, and to see if we were right. And yes, the squares in the pond were showing us evidence that it was underwater, and there was, you know, like peat moss and stuff down there. But when they got up on the shore, the one square got to bedrock, just like the squares on top of the hill are finding bedrock. But they brushed off a crack in the rock. And what did they find in the crack of the rock? They found a beautiful, perfectly clear quartz scraper. Looked like a piece of glass. You could hold it up and look right through it, but it was a piece of crystal of quartz that had been made into a scraper about 10,000 years ago. So whoever made that scraper sat there on that rock, and he had made it into a scraper and said, I'll put it down here in the crack for safekeeping, I'll come back and get it later. Well, obviously, he never came back and got it later. But we found it 10,000 years later. That was a real cool artifact. So anyway.
Well, work's continuing down here. Everybody's involved today. Look at that. Going through the screen. And already this morning, they found a nice piece of manufactured iron. Just get this out of the bag and show you. It's round on one side and flat on the other. So artifacts are there. Well, we're going to get in the bus here. It's a short morning, but very productive. We're going to take a little trip and enjoy another part of the park.
And as you learn more, you'll see that.
Dude, I was only under the water for a while. old water bottle.
That's an old water bottle. That's
This
the
is old
reason.
too.
Okay, now watch what happens. See how you twist it, boys and girls?
Now watch,
And
now
pop.
watch. Now watch. Just wait one more second.
Okay, here it goes.
Good.
Whoa!
Oh, the best one yet.
Of course, in the iron furnaces, they would sometimes just run that hot molten iron out from the furnace and run it out into the sand in channels and make what was made out there. What was that iron called? Just the big bars of iron. What were they? Yes.
Pig iron?
Pig iron, right, because it looked like a mama pig and all the piglets. It wasn't really any particular design. It was hopefully about the same size, each one, because they wanted to kind of get an idea of measuring it, but it was sold by the ton. It wasn't very particular in design. So the furnace here at the Mary Ann furnace was one of the first ones to cast what was called a 10-plate stove. And back in the early 18th century, particularly the German workers that came over from Europe brought with them the technology of doing the sand molds to do the designs to make the 5-plate or the jam stoves. When you get a chance to get up from your seat, you'll have to look over the fireplace. Is one of the plates of a 5-plate jam stove. These are the pieces of the stove plate, so you can decide to do one of those, which is kind of authentic. This is the side of the stove plate you have the door on, or you can, what we reproduce is going to be able to keep on. Okay, so, thingy.
Yes.
Follow. What's this called? Glass. Right. Okay, and you're going to choose your item that you want to cast, and you're going to put it face up on the bottom follow board.
Yeah, anyway.
Maybe because it needs to be hot.
That one would have fit too.
Rub it between your hands so you get a nice fine layer on top of your piece. Right down up in there.
Wait, do I need more?
Okay, so
Oh, sand.
Please level it. Do we need
To me, they look
mine.
mighty good.
No. Anybody else?
Very nice.
Mine did. I got it on.
the way to watch out a second because
Mine got ruined.
you're gonna very gently
Mine's
blow
going. Oh, look at this.
Mine's done.
the sand out of there.
Ours is done.
Did you blow that extra sand out?
I did.
Got a good bit of dust and powder on yours already.
You take the gloves and then
Yep.
I wear off.
Yep.
We just leave them here and.
Yep. Gloves can go inside and go into a trash can.
It's a box.
Just turned out pretty
Big box.
Well, this is one of the castings that came out. Unfortunately, it was a little wet when it was removed and it broke. And the student was going to discard this, but we thought, well, we might as well take this along and keep it as an example. We'll try and restore that and have it ready for next year to show it as an example. And of course, an archaeologist never throws anything away. Everything can be important, so you keep it until you're sure what you're doing. Through the history and documentation of Mary Ann Furnace, they made 4 different sizes of cannonballs. This is an 8-pounder. This is a 12-pounder. 8 pounds and 12 pounds. Is water wet? And let's see, 8, 12, 8, 12, 18-pounder, and 24 pounds. I don't have one of those. There you guys want to pass it around officially. You can pass them around. Yeah, if that's a
If that's a 12, of course a 24 between.
Exactly.
Hand that to me. You guys may have seen this yesterday. Where's Sam at? Yeah, there he is. Right in front of me. Sam found one. He's in. Somebody else found it.
Well, we'll go back at good old Nixon Park, signing out. The end of another great day here Wednesday.